Hello, welcome to a yoga video by Movement Style. My name's Caroline and I'm going to lead you through a short yoga mobilisation sequence. We'll do a little bit of bridge work, the Dvipaddipittam, and then we'll flow into some hamstring opening and lower back releasing. After that we'll come up to seated, do a little bit of gentle twisting, side bending and a back bend, Bujangasana, Cobra. Will eventually flow through into a gentle downward facing dog to complete this sequence. So this is the first video in a two-part sequence. This video is complete in and of itself, but if you'd like to continue after this video into the stronger standing sequence, then you'll be well prepared for that sequence by this video. Let's come down onto the mat to begin this sequence. So we roll down through the spine. You can always use the support with the hands from the legs, aiming, if you can, to really feel each vertebra lengthening away from the one behind as you roll down. Let your shoulders draw away from the ears and your abdominal muscles nice and strong as you flow through to the mat. Going to let the heels align with the sitting bones. We've got hip joints, knee joints, ankle joints aligned. Just feeling that the weight of the spine is quite centered, right side, left side through the pelvis is easily resting on the mat and balanced, and spine in the center, released into the mat. Weight of the ribs, right side, left side, resting evenly on the mat, same with the shoulders. And always feels nice to me just to support the weight of the head, to release the length of the spine from between the shoulder blades, through the back of the neck, into the crown of the head, and bringing the weight of the head down. And then letting the arms come in by the sides. So we're going to begin with a little bit of breathing and some bandha activation, which is quite common in my yoga videos. And as we breathe out, we're going to begin to soften the exhalation. Might just think about the breath leaving the body from the top of the breath at the tip of the nostrils, releasing the breath through the nostrils, from the back of the mouth, through the throat, letting the breath leave from the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest, and with the inhalations again, just breathing in, following that channel of the breath from the top of the breath at the tip of the nostrils, allowing the breath to gently come into the body and to, from within, open space within the nostrils, the throat, the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. And gradually, as we're able to connect with a nice, fluid, soft breath, we might be able to as well begin to let the body feel softer and more fluid as well. And we just begin to think about softening and relaxing through the length of the spine, right from the crown of the head through towards the tailbone. See if you can release the weight and the length of the spine downwards towards your tailbone. Gradually, into this breathing practice, we're going to think about introducing the bandha, the energy locks that yoga uses, and they're really helpful for when we're working with the weight of the spine and when we're working with fluid energy, yogic pranic energy flowing through the spine. So let's think as well on our exhalations as we just let them begin from the top of the breath, about hollowing in the lower abdomen, just really depressing the lower abdomen with the exhalation. And remembering as we do this to let the spine relax and also to keep the neck soft, sides of the neck soft, the back of the neck soft. If it feels comfortable with depressing the lower abdomen, you might into that just add with your exhalations as well the navel drawing towards the spine. Again, still just focusing on keeping the spine released, the neck easy, the throat easy. Now, ideally, with this drawing of the center of the abdomen down and back, we also hook the navel up towards the diaphragm. But again, just take it easy, just working away with the breath and the abdominal muscles in a way that feels comfortable. We're going to just gradually carry this awareness of, with our exhalation, releasing and lengthening the spine, hollowing and engaging in the lower abdomen, navel drawing to the spine to facilitate us in rolling the spine up and away from the mat. And then as we're breathing in, we're going to roll the spine back through into the floor, lengthening the spine from the crown of the head right the way through towards the tailbone. Ideally, with the Dvipaddipittam, the two-legged temple, or as it's more often called, the bridge, we
aiming to use the muscles closest to the spine to flow the spine away from the mat, rather than just hoisting the hips using the gluteal muscles and the legs, and then the spine just follows, but trying to really get a sense of supporting the flow of the spine, really articulating each vertebra and activating the yoga energy that flows through the spine. Or it's not really yoga energy, but yoga perceives very specifically energy, different types of energy flowing through the spine. So raising that yogic consciousness of the energy that flows through the spine by really articulating it. So now if we're using strength around the ribs and in the waist and in the lower abdomen, probably there isn't too much weight going through the neck, and that is right really in the bridge, not putting the weight through the neck. And besides, we're going to need to just make sure that the weight isn't on the neck if we opt up to the next progression on the Dvipadipittam here. So it's with the exhalation, we're flowing the spine up and away from the mat, lengthening through towards the tailbone. And on the inhalation, as we roll the spine back towards the mat, we're going to think about releasing the spine from between the shoulder blades, through the vertebrae in the neck, into the crown of the head. So still really hug the breastbone to the spine to give you lots of support in that flowing action. And the idea is to extend the spine, to lift and move through the spine using the muscles that support the spine, rather than to lift the head and neck with the throat muscles. So we breathe out into our Dvipadipittam, and as you're breathing out, hugging the breastbone, so we breathe out, flowing into our Dvipadipittam, using lots of strength around the ribcage, lots of strength around the waist, spine really lengthening towards the tailbone. And then with the inhalation, from between the shoulder blades, lengthening the spine initially, hug the breastbone towards the spine, and as a counterweight, as a seesaw action, as the base of the spine comes back to the mat, the upper back flows up. So let's think about another couple. We're breathing out to roll the neck back towards the mat, and then to roll the spine up and away from the floor. Breathing in to hug the breastbone to the spine, to, before we lift the head at all, lengthen the neck from between the shoulder blades. Keep this part of the body really strong, centering in towards the spine. Breathing out again, we roll back down through the upper back, and the lower back rolls up. And then once again, as you're really breathing in, to release the upper spine, rolling down through the lower spine. And then we're just going to breathe out to relax the head back towards the mat. So breathing 2 or 3 breaths here, just again releasing the neck and shoulders, allowing the breath itself to relax, the exhalation to lengthen again, just simply to absorb the effects of that first practice. And then as you're ready, let's think about bringing the weight of the legs in towards the front of the body. And we're back again to the work in the lower abdomen, drawing down and back, navel drawing towards the spine. Breathe out, hug the legs towards us. Breathe in to deliberately roll the lower spine back into the mat. So again, breathing out to hollow, to pull the navel to the spine, to lead the knees towards the shoulders. Breathing in to roll back. And then gradually, as you feel ready, we're going to add into this practice, which is Apanasana, Supta Prasarippadasana. So we breathe in to roll the lower back into the mat, and as we continue to inhale, the legs extend from between the sitting bones to the heels, and the arms move back. So once again, as you're ready, exhaling to fold the legs in and down, to engage the bandha, roll the legs towards us. Breathing in to roll the lower back into the mat again, and breathing and still breathing in, the arms move back and the legs extend. Now again, into the Apanasana, we could begin to flow the upper spine as well. So we hug the legs in and down, get that quite tight engagement, hug the breastbone to the spine, flow up without the legs escaping from us. Breathing in, the upper spine rolls back to the mat, and we open the legs from the sitting bones to the heels, and the arms reach back. So breathing out, spine relaxes, banda engage, hug the legs in tightly, avoid them escaping as you hug the breastbone to the spine, roll up through the upper back, breathing in to roll the spine back into the mat and to reach through. So let's just flow this through another couple of times. We try to keep that sequencing going, lower body, upper body, broad through the shoulders and the pelvis so that you're lengthening the spine as much as possible. Also lengthening the breath, exhalation extending, inhalation opening. So last time, here we are. And just folding the legs in and towards us and relaxing there for a moment. As you're ready, we're going to think about rolling ourselves onto one side, pressing up towards a seated position. So any comfortable seated position is good. And if you find that if you're coming into cross-legged and the knees are quite high, so your back is rolling back, just think about hopping up onto a brick or block or folded cushion or blanket just to get the knees to sink down and away from the hip joints a little bit. But as I say, any comfortable position is good. Legs going wide like that, often people find is a little bit more comfortable. So let's again check in with the spine, let it be nice and long. So just 2 or 3 breaths, breathing in to stretch up through the spine, breathing out to keep lifting into the crown of the head as the arms come down. So again, breathing in, breath dives downwards as the arms reach upwards, really helping to open the length through the rib cage and the spine between the tailbone and the crown. So this time as we come down again, we're going to really focus on that height all through the spine, each vertebra releasing away from the one below. And this is a little contra twist action where we're going to let the spine in the waist and the ribs twist back towards the right, but the head and neck are going to gently spiral towards the left and then returning. So let's say it's an exhalation to just gently twist backwards through the right side and then to twist around in the opposite direction through the neck and head towards the left side. And throughout this action, really working on keeping that length through the spine, the sense of the vertebrae of the neck releasing and lengthening out of the vertebrae in the back of the ribcage. Collarbones remaining nice and broad, shoulders broad at the back as well. And let's just work a last one of these in this direction. And then reversing. So with the exhalation, the left waist and left ribs twisting back to the left side and the head and neck pivoting towards the right. Spine nice and tall, letting the left ribs and waist twist towards the left side and the head and neck pivoting towards the right. So waist and ribs pivoting back towards the left, head and neck pivoting towards the right. And again, this emphasis on freeing the spine, that sense of releasing each vertebra away from the one below. And I think that takes practice. We carry so much tension in the muscles around the sides of the rib cage and around the sides of the neck and the front of the neck that actually a gentle movement in which we try to just softly release the vertebrae from out of the vice-like grip of the muscles. At first, it's very hard to feel the freedom. You just try to begin to think about the spine as little droplets, each vertebra a little droplet flowing in a gentle twist. So let's work a last one in this direction and drawing back towards the center.
Going to as well think about releasing the spine in the sideways position. So let's breathe in to draw the right arm up. As you breathe out, your bandha, navel drawing to the spine, lower abdomen engaged, and stretch up. And then again, the sense of trying to release the spine up and over. And I think the most helpful way of practicing that to get used to the sense of each vertebra flowing into a lateral flexion is to go breath by breath. So as I breathe in, I lengthen up from the tailbone to the crown, I keep the bandha working. And then as I breathe out, I press up from the underside, waist presses up, under ribs press up, and I try to release and free through the whole spine. So again, breathing in right from the tailbone through the whole spine, releasing it, and then breathing out, coming up to come over from the tailbone, each vertebra moving. So again, breathing in, try to release through the whole spine, and then breathing out, again, begin at the base of the spine, each vertebra leading towards the crown. So a last breath here. And then once again, breathing in to come up, breathing out to release. Another very important aspect of side bending is keeping the shoulders wide. When the shoulders hunch over like this, it's virtually impossible to release the spine, and I think that's why people tend to go down. But really, going down doesn't open the muscles very well, and it cramps the spine a lot. So let's breathe in again, and breathe out, bandha engaging and releasing space through the whole spine. And this breath again through the shoulders and across the pelvis. Once again, as you breathe in, trying to open the whole spine from the tailbone to the crown, up and over, and breathing out, engaging the bandha, and that sense again of flowing movement through the spine from the tailbone to the crown. And again, breathing in, whole spine right from the base, coming up and coming over, each vertebra flowing individually as well as a chain, pressing up from under here, from under this side. So another couple of breaths, 2 or 3 breaths. In fact, I'm always working to lift this upper side towards the corner between the wall and the ceiling. Collarbones open, shoulder blades gliding down the back. So again, as you're ready, we're going to breathe in, bring ourselves back up. So let's release the legs, give them a little bit of a shake out there, and we're going to spin around towards our all fours, although in point of fact, hips to heels position. Now the twists and the side bends both really open the muscles on the sides of the body. And as we're moving back, let's try to really again work into that lengthening that we've already been working with. Releasing space through the waist, releasing space between each of the vertebrae, keeping the collarbones and the shoulders front and back open, the ribs broad and open away from the breastbone and away from the spine, the pelvis wide and open, so that there's space for the sacrum as you move back, the sides of the body opening, so that as you arrive in Bujangasana, the spine is really long and open right from the tailbone to the crown. And again, just a few breaths here, just enjoying the space that's opening up within the body at present and around the spine. And you might be able to, on your inhalations, feel the coolness of your breath meet the skin on the back of the throat. And then just simply visualize in the mind's eye the idea of the breath drawing back over the front of the spine, right the way through towards the tailbone. Of course, that doesn't really happen, but just visualizing it to create space over the front of the spine. What you might literally feel then is the tailbone open away from the crown of the head. And as you breathe out, let the weight of the tailbone and the sitting bones relax towards the mat. At the end of the next round of the breath, we're going to draw the body forwards towards the all fours. And as I come into the all fours, I actually begin that movement in and around my tailbone with that lift in the lower abdomen, navel drawing to the spine. I lead forward, supporting the weight of my spine.
And coming through again, I'm going to widen out in the collarbones and the shoulders. Think in terms of my shoulder blades moving down my back in the direction of my sitting bones. So arriving here, I might just tuck my top up a little. Arriving here, we're going to once again flow the spine, and that involves, with the exhalation, drawing the tailbone downwards. And it helps with drawing the tailbone downwards to again lift and hollow upwards in the lower abdominal wall. Navel can pull to the spine and hook up towards the diaphragm, which helps to elevate the small of the back. And coming back again to the idea of hugging the breastbone to the spine, that helps to lift and roll the thoracic spine in the back of the rib cage. And then we're just going to, from there, straight away flow outwards again. So from the tailbone, moving the spine right from the base of the spine, vertebra by vertebra, keep hugging the breastbone to the spine. Shoulder blades moving downwards in the direction of the sitting bones, lifting through from between the shoulder blades into the crown of the head. And then once again, the spine just flowing, rounding, tailbone moves downwards, small of the back moves upwards, hugging the breastbone back. You can gently press the heels of the hands into the mat to really open up between the shoulder blades. Hold on to the bandha, lower abdomen stays lifted, navel pulls to the spine, open length through the waist rather than just let it sink downwards. Sides of the ribs open. Once again, the vertebrae of the neck lengthen and release from out of the vertebrae in the back of the rib cage. So it's your exhalation, and once again your inhalation, your exhalation, and once again your inhalation. And from here this time we're going to again lengthen the hips back and towards the heels, lots of space throughout the spine, sides of the body, as long and relaxed as we can manage. So once more, just coming back into this position of repose. And if it feels helpful, following the breath, thinking about it moving in the mind's eye along the front of the spine, and the sitting bones and the tailbone being heavy with the exhalations. Or otherwise, just simply being quiet in the body and in the mind. And then again, as you're ready, we're going to come along the mat, coming onto the abdomen this time for a gentle Cobra, Bujangasana practice. Now, in yoga, there is this style of coming forwards where the elbows tuck in, the arms tuck into the sides of the body, and the elbows tuck into the sides of the body, the elbows pin back, breastbone hugs to the spine, pulls to the abdomen, the lower abdomen lifts up and back, you send the sitting bones back and behind you. And again, the idea is to release the length and the space through the spine. So snakes haven't got arms, so trying to flow through from the spine, keeping the bandha working, keeping the pelvis broad and wide, keeping the ribs and shoulders broad and wide, so that the spine has free passage. And from there you can always flow back down again and then lift again after a breath or two. But flowing through like that, flowing through Nakrasana is quite hard for many people, and we don't have to do it. So if you prefer, coming forwards on your forearms, but still coming forwards with the bandha working. So the Nakrasana, where you pull low to the mat in the crocodile, stimulates your abdominal core muscles, and the spine, if you don't let go of the abdominal core muscles as the weight of the body comes onto the floor, is supported. And that's why I'm able to release the spine forwards and upwards quite readily. So the Nakrasana flow forward movement is very helpful for that reason to the Cobra. It looks dramatic and all the rest of it, but I think the real reason is because it facilitates the Cobra. So coming forwards like this, it doesn't quite facilitate the core muscles being strong in the same way, but you can still come down. That deep lift in the lower abdomen, navel pulling to the spine, breastbone hugs to the spine, and then as you touch down, just make sure that you don't let go of your abdominal strength. That's the mistake people make. The body reaches the floor,
People let go in the abdomen. And then it's virtually impossible to move, because we're not, as human beings, really that well designed for moving on the floor. So we have to take on strategies, I think, to enable us to do it. So it's the mind in the body. It's part of the yoga practice, figuring out how we move through the space of the body and produce the movements from deep within. And that helps to detach the mind from many of our everyday concerns and troubles. So here, navel keeps pulling to the spine, breath moving in the chest, breathing in, breathing out, and breathing as you're ready again, flowing back down. So really with the Cobra, even from the static position, I'm moving from the base of my spine. I think about tailbone, sacrum, vertebra by vertebra, releasing away from the one behind through my waist. Keep the lower abdomen and the navel engaged. I'm opening through the sides of my waist, the sides of my ribs. Breastbone keeps hugging to the spine. Stay broad and open in the rib cage. And I am really lifting with my back and core muscles. So again, just breathing in here, breathing out 2 or 3 times. And then with an exhalation, flowing back down. And we just, as you decide to finish practicing, which might have been before this as well, heels can roll outwards, and just gently rocking the hips on the mat 2 or 3 times, releasing, letting go. So after the Bujangasana, it's usually the inhalation that needs to relax a little, letting our exhalation lengthen, so that the inhalation sort of pulls back, into more even rhythm. And then once again, as you're ready, we'll just roll the legs back in line with the hip joints. We'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Once again, I tend to lift from the depth of the center of my abdomen and then lengthen right back. So a moment or two of repose again in the Bujangasana, the hair position. And then as you feel ready, we're going to flow into the downward facing dog. We've had a fair bit of preparation for the downward dog throughout the sequence so far. We've opened the hamstrings, we've stimulated the bandha. We've thought about lifting into the all fours with the bandha working, the shoulders broad at the front and the back, and the shoulder blades moving in the direction of the sitting bones. Toes tucking under. Let your whole hand rest into the floor and keep the index fingers and the thumbs down. And the movement essentially is backwards, lengthening back from the fingertips to the sitting bones, opening the sides of the ribs but backwards this time, opening the sides of the waist but backwards this time. Deep lift in the lower abdomen, navel pulls to the spine, breastbone hugs to the spine, and again working hard in this area of the body. Keep hugging it in towards the center. Shoulders, though, are broad and wide at the front and the back. The shoulder blades move back towards the sitting bones, and the pelvis is broad and wide between the crests of the hip bones. Breathing here. Let the weight of the spine lengthen through its own weight into the weight of the head. Knees can always be bent. Breathing. Again, let's just relax. Knees coming to the mat, hips coming back to the heels. We'll relax here a breath or two. We'll do another lift into the downward facing dog, as long as you feel comfortable with that. If not, just continue to rest in the child. So once again, our second Adho Mukha Svanasana practice. Breathing in, moving from the tailbone, supporting the spine, deep lift lower abdomen, midsection, whole hand down, index fingers, thumbs. Shoulder blades moving down the back, lifting the pelvis from the deep abdominal strength, lengthening back through the sides of the ribs, sides of the waist, breastbone hugs to the spine, unfurl from the crown to the tailbone. Legs just lengthen downwards and away from the elevation through the pelvis, drawing up through the kneecaps, fronts of the thighs. Keeping the bandha working, breathing. So knees again can stay bent. Lots of deep breath.
letting the mind stay relaxed. You can always rest at the back of the forehead. So again, the last breath in this practice here in this position. And as you're ready, with the exhalation, we're going to let the knees come to the mat. We'll send the hips to the heels. Just bring the arms in around the sides of the legs, letting go here. Really allowing the back muscles to open away from the spine. Being aware of the space that rises up through the back of the body here and the quality of the energy that fills the back of the body. Allowing the mind to rest quietly behind the forehead. Simply being, simply breathing, connecting with the living presence that is the body. And then as you're ready, with an inhalation, just going to roll up through the spine, vertebra by vertebra, back towards a seated position. Sometimes people do find the child a little hard and the hips are lifted and the weight's going through the neck. So always think about, if that's the case, just popping a block in, so it's on the knees, and then there's less pressure on the neck. Also, alternatively, you can, if it's difficult kneeling, put something in at the back of the knee so the front of the knee isn't needing to open as much as otherwise. And then again, you'd need a block at the front to support you in that position. Om Shanti Namaste. Thank you for watching. Well done for practicing. Hope to see you again soon on Movement Style. If you enjoyed this video, always think about subscribing. It helps you to know when I'm uploading my newest videos.